Hello, Lorraine Sish here, ready to whip up another card for you today so that you can make a card in a short amount of time when you are in a rush, or maybe you need to make multiples and you don't want to spend a whole lot of time on one card. You want to just whip them up really quickly. Maybe you are new to stamping and you want to create a card easily. Well, these are the cards for you in my Whip It Up series. So I hope you can sit back and relax, watch, and learn how to make this really super easy card using the new Stampin' Up! Sunflower 3D embossing folder. Let me turn the camera around and show you what we're doing today. Okay, so here is the folder, 3D, because it gives you various heights to what gets embossed. A regular embossing folder just has two levels, what gets depressed and what stays risen. So this one has multiple heights to it. So this is one of the large embossing folders as well. This one is actually 8.5 inches tall by 6 inches wide. And if you look in here, I have a half a sheet of paper in here, 8.5 by 5.5. So I can do a big sheet of paper and then cut down to the parts that I want. Well, these sunflowers are huge because it's a large embossing folder. It has some large flowers to it. So this is what actually happens once you emboss it and you have that whole sheet of paper to play with. If you want to just do your card top layer, you can cut your piece down to whatever size you want. This one is 4 by 5.25, and then you can do some layering on your card bases. And basically, this is all you need. I'm going to show you some ways you can just use this just as it is because it is so big and beautiful. The embossing is the focal point. So we are also going to do a quick, easy way to add some color. We're going to do this on some colored cardstock as well, not just white. All of them are just as easy as the next. So take a look here. So this one, I just put my one piece in there and I ran that through the Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. So I'm going to show you first with some Lemon Lolly. Now this is, again, like I said, a 4 by 5.25 inch piece of paper cardstock because I'm going to be putting this on a card front. I'm going to stick that in my embossing folder. Now the beauty of this is you can move it around to a spot where you would like to capture. Maybe you want that flower mostly. Maybe you want this one. Maybe you want a little of both. So I think I'm going to actually do a little of both. I love this one that's hanging down and the petals are sort of drooping over here. These are nice and bright and beautiful. I like this one coming up from the corner. So I know it's a little difficult to see, but trust me, you'll see it once I run it through. So I'm going to pull that down there, and please excuse my grid paper here because I'm just going to get it messy anyway. So I decided not to change it. It's going to be messy in 2 seconds. So I'm going to bring in my cut and emboss machine. All you need are 2 plates. You need your number 1 plate. Put the hinge side in first, always. And you need your number 4 plate, the dark gray one, to go on top. So I'll just line those up. It also helps if you just kind of stagger your plates just a little bit, as long as you don't have any embossing way at the tippy top here. So that helps kind of ease it into your machine a little bit. You got to crank it. Through there. Bam. It's done. Let's take a look at how beautiful this is. Lemon Lolly is such a soft, nice yellow. And I kind of call it buttery. I just think like a creamy yellow when I look at this. Okay, so isn't that just gorgeous? So just that alone, you can put that on any other card base. Now I didn't cut these out yet because I'm not sure which one I want. I mean, look at this on the basic gray. I kind of love yellow and gray, and I think I might end up going with that. But that alone would make a lovely card. Add a sentiment, and you're done. Just some other options kind of work nicely too. This is gray granite. This one is early espresso. I know lighting is kind of weird here. I'm so sorry about that. And this one is crumb cake. All of those neutral colors work nicely for that. So put that right on a card and add a sentiment. Now what you can do is make this real easy. If you have the greetings for all, it's a little ephemera pack that has, as you guessed it, just greetings. I've shown this before on some of my videos. You have 2 sheets of each, some generic, some related to holidays. You have 4 sheets, 2 of each, that are black writing on white tags. And then you have 2 sheets, they're both the same, of white on the black background. So I think that's really cool to have so that you don't have to get out your embossing and just kind of what you want on a Whip It Up Wednesday. I'm going to just leave this here for now. I like to leave them in one of my little envelopes with the name on the tab there. So I'm going to now add some color to this. Like I said, it could be beautiful just as it is. Well, let me show you one where do I have one where I just have the happy embossing? Well, no. Okay, well, here's one. Here's one I have white. I didn't put this together because I wanted to show you options. So this is just the white on Lost Lagoon. And once we add a sentiment or a ribbon, a label of some kind, you've got a quick, easy card. Okay, you can decide how much you want to put on there. There's a little Forever Friends sentiment, and I just think this would look really pretty with maybe some gingham ribbon. So we'll play around with that in a little while. So let's come back to that and let's look at our lemon lolly. Now, if we want to add some highlights to this, and you're going to see very soon the dimension on this lemon lolly cardstock. I'm going to take my lemon lolly ink pad, no stamps. I'm just going to flip it over and we're going to drag this right across the embossing. Now the part that's highest is going to capture the ink the most, and the parts that are lower, some will not capture at all, and some that are in between will capture a little bit. So you can start by dragging very lightly, and if you want just a little bit of highlighting, then you can stop right there. If you want to get it in a little bit more crevices, you can always add more and go over it more. Sometimes I use the little corner of the ink pad to kind of get in where I might want a little extra highlighting. But once you see this, it's like such a wow factor. So here we go. Oh my gosh, look at that. Just love it. This is lemon lolly on lemon lolly. And take a look there. Do you need to do much more? No, I think it's wonderful the way it is. I'm looking at these petals down here. I might want just a little bit more down here. So I'm just going to use the end of my ink pad and just dab it to add just a little bit more on those petals down there. Now, in doing so just now, I touched over some of the other edges that were higher and they got even a little darker. So if you wanted to make it darker or just have some places where it should be a little darker to look like more shading, well, then you can certainly do that. So that's really all you need to do. Now you can also do some on the back. Now if you flip it over, now you're going to get the reverse image. So you see here where the parts that were not raised did not capture the ink. Well, on the back, it's going to be the opposite. Those places are going to be the raised parts, and now your ink is going to end up on the parts that are raised, or also known as the background. So let me show you what that's going to look. I'm going to grab this across here and across here like this. And now you have the flowers staying a lighter color and the background is darker. So isn't that cool right there? Let me take away my banner so that you can see a little better. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so here's where the flower petals got the highlight. And then here's the reverse. Alrighty, so then putting that just on a card, put that on a card base and add your sentiment or ribbon or whatever you like, and it can really look very nice. All right, so there are some ideas there. All right, now let's take, I will show you some finished cards in a minute. I'm going to close this up. Now let's take, back to that Lost Lagoon. Like I said, I just think this is just beautiful as is. You can always cut this down a 1/4 inch and add a black background to it if you like. And that will be, that could give it a little bit different look. I'll show you some ideas for that later as well. Let's just take the Lost Lagoon. Now, I know that's a non-traditional color for sunflowers, but let's think outside the flower box. Haha, get it? Think outside the box. And let's just go with Lost Lagoon because I do love that color. Now, one thing I am noticing when I'm trying this with a lot of different colors and a lot of different color cardstocks and inks, that when I drag this across, we're using this ink pad directly to the paper, so the color is going to be more saturated and darker. Also, where the fibers of the paper have been changed from the embossing, okay, they've sort of weakened a little bit. I think they soak up the ink a little bit more, so you're going to get a little bit darker, sometimes considerably darker, depending on the color, darker color when you're dragging your ink pad on here than what you actually see on your cardstock. If you're stamping and it were lighter, it would be exactly the same. That's one of the great things about Stampin' Up! And the color coordination. All right, so let's give this a drag. I'm going to go across. Again, like I said, just start lightly. Oh my gosh, look at that. I might go back and just add a little bit where I left off. Now, if you like those little streaks in there, that's fine. That could look a little bit more natural. Or you can go over it and try something else. I might try a little bit more color here because the rest of it is really dark. Not that it's really going to matter a whole lot, to be honest. Okay, so I did get a little bit of the background there, and it's okay because it has sort of that sketchy, almost a batik look, if you've ever done batik crafting before. So now I'm going to flip this one over. It's the same pattern. I may try to capture the same flower so that you can see the difference. But of course, when I flip it over, it's going to be reversed. So this flower that's tilted this way is going to be tilted that way. And this way you can see the front and the reverse side by side. Let's try this. Oops, see, I am getting a whole lot on my desktop here, which is okay. Now you can go different directions if you like. Fill in. And look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love it. Love, 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 love it. So both can be done nice and easily. You do a whole sheet in that big embossing folder, cut it in half. You've got 2 cards going for you. Now let's see what that looks like on the card base. Again, like I said, this is Lost Lagoon. And look, you have a beautiful card just ready for your sentiments. Let's see what this other one looks like here. And that looks really, really pretty too. I love the darker background and the white flowers. But I love this one too. So I'm just going to have to get out another card base and put that one together as well. All right, so when I was playing around with different colors, this is one that I used white on Secret Sea. Secret Sea, which is a new in color. So let me show you how that works. We're going to take a piece of, I think I brought out a Lost Lagoon here someplace. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, and I'm going to emboss that. I'll show you how to do that one more time. Just put that in your folder, and I'm not even going to think about where it is. I'm going to let it happen naturally. And we'll run that through your number 1 plate, hinge side first, and then your number 4 plate. The bottom plates don't have to go in any particular direction. In fact, you can go forward and back with any of them. Just make sure you turn your folder so that it's always a hinge first, and you never have to run this through forward and back. Once through with an embossing folder is always plenty. All right, so let's take a quick look at this, and I'll show you the magic of the white ink on that. Now, one thing I do recommend, I made this little mistake once before. Like I said, their paper's going to get kind of messy. I did take, I was doing a darker color first, and then I took a lighter color, and I was going across, and my pad kind of touched some of the ink that was on here. Although it was dry to the touch, the damp pad kind of reactivated some of the ink here, and I did get a little of the darker color on my ink pads. When I swiped again, it showed up here. So I'm just going to move this a little bit, so when I go across it, I'm not going to end up on that ink. Does that make sense? All right, so this is the Whisper White ink pad, and I'm going to drag it across. It's going to highlight all those in white. And I think this Whisper White has sort of a chalky look. It's a craft ink, has a nice powdery or chalky look to it, which it makes it softer. Of course, holding this down, you're going to get a little ink on your fingers, so be careful with that as well, that you don't go touching something else. I like to keep some wipes nearby. Okay, I have some water wipes. They're non-alcohol wipes that my daughter uses with the grandkids. All right, and so then that now on maybe a white background. Just beautiful. Look how nice and quick. So your embossing is the star of the show. That's your focal point. So here it was on the Secret Sea, and here it was on the Lost Lagoon cardstock. Now, when again experimenting, when I was showing this to some of my other friends, this was actually Pool Party, and I used Pool Party ink on that. And then I said, well, let's try Pool Party ink on one side. And I just wanted side by side. I didn't plan on keeping this at all. And I used Secret Sea on the other side. And this is what came out. And when I was looking at that, I said, you know what? I can use that. So I got a Secret Sea base. And said, we're just going to put it over here. It's just going to be like a two-tone look. I put one of those ephemera labels on there, the greetings for all. And then I'm going to take my ribbon here, which is iridescent striped ribbon. It's an online exclusive product. And I'm going to just tie that around. So it kind of softens the transition from the darker color to the light. I'm going to tie a big bow over here. Here's my bow tying tutorial. I have to explain this every time because for a while I was like, oh, how do you get the bow to go in the right direction? Well, you just have to remember the formula. So you have your 2 pieces here, left over the right, and then tuck it under, and that piece over here is the one that's down is what you're going to make your bow with, make your first loop with rather. So around that goes. I should grab a little bit more here. Around it goes. I will make the loop. Now, here's the trick now. If you want your bow to be parallel or the right or the same direction as what you had wrapped, go clockwise around. Okay, clockwise means the normal way, right? And so that's what I want. I want it to go around. If I want the bow to go perpendicular to the way it's wrapped, I would go counterclockwise around. So let me show you that real quick. Counterclockwise. I don't want it this way, so I'm going to undo it and show you the other way. Okay, so that's going up and down just like that. Actually, that doesn't look bad. So you know what? I'm going to leave it that way. Trust me, if you go clockwise, then your bow is going to go this way. So I don't know, I kind of like that. I can leave that, and I like the way it's hanging with some long wispy ends to that. I'm going to cut that, and then we're going to glue it on the card. Remember your dark cards, you will need to put a white layer on the inside. You don't need to see me do that. Okay, so now we have that two-tone look. I used one of the sentiments from here. You have thinking of you. Congratulations. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday. Thanks. Oh, happy day. Best wishes. Happy birthday. You've got a lot to choose from. So I just put that there like that. I think maybe this should be adjusted. Maybe cut a little bit shorter. Okay. There you go. Look how pretty that is. Okay, it kind of softens the transition there. So that was not a waste. That one worked out just fine. Okay, so then I experimented with a lot of different colors, like I said. So I'm going to just show you those. We're going to whip through. I'm not going to do them, but I'm just going to share with you. You can always go over to my Facebook page and see some of the examples there. And eventually they will get up on my blog, stampwiththerain.com. So you can actually go over to there, and they're not up there yet as of July 2nd, but at some point I will get them up there. Okay, so here we were with, this one is just Daffodil Delight, just plain, and I will do something, put that on maybe the espresso or whatever. Okay, so now here is Petal Pink on Petal Pink. Now look how much darker that got, with the fibers kind of broken there a little bit from the pressing, it soaks up the ink a little bit more, but that's what really makes it highlight. So you can always just do tone on tone, Petal Pink on Petal Pink, and we have a nice thing there. All right, so now this was Daffodil Delight on white, and then I got some of the lighter color in there. Then I went over again, so it does look brownish, right? But it's actually multiple swipes of the Daffodil Delight. So again, I will experiment with a background color for that. I think that looked really nice with the crumb cake, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, I think I kind of liked that, but I will have to play around with it. I'm a visual person. I have to actually lay it out there and see. Okay, then I was playing around with some purples. So here was Fresh Freesia, and this is Highland Heather. So isn't that cool? Okay, look how much darker that came out when you're taking it direct to the paper. So then I didn't glue these down for good. I just temporarily put them down until I end up making more, deciding what I want to do with it. But let's say over here, I cut this down a little shorter. This one is actually 4 by 5 1/4. So I just have that light border, the thin border around. This one I cut down a little more to 3 3/4 by 5. And I have a bigger border around there, which looks really nice as well. Then I said, well, let's try putting a very thin piece of black border around there. And I thought that really made that stand out nicely. So there we go for that. And then you can take your sentiment, add that on there, and you're good to go. One thing that's really nice, that's new right now, it's part of the Lovely Garden suite on the online exclusives, is this faux velvet ribbon. It's very narrow, 1/8 inch, and we can tie that around there and add a nice little bow to that. I think would be very sweet. Okay, so I had so many suggestions here for you. Okay, this actually is Flirty Flamingo and Flirty Flamingo on the white. And now here it is on the reverse. Okay, so you can see the difference. The petals are highlighted, and here the background is highlighted. This one, okay, I was watching another demonstrator, Patty Bennett, and she took Poppy Parade to the Petal Pink. Now, I would not think to do that, but after I saw hers, I was thinking, wow, that's really kind of cool. So here it is, Poppy Parade. And I said, yeah, that looks nice. I don't know if I would really want to do that again. But I said, well, let me put the card together. So putting that on the petal pink was fine, but watch, once you add a frame of the Poppy Parade, isn't that just gorgeous? It looks even better in person, trust me. All right, so there's the Poppy Parade and the petal pink. I mean, look at all these colors. Oh my goodness. All right, and then this is petal pink with the petal pink only. And then here's some that we did today. The white on the Lost Lagoon. The white on the Secret Sea. We have Lost Lagoon with the ink on the white right there. And then, where are some of my finished cards? Okay, over here, over here. Okay, so then here are some that are already finished. So let me move these out of the way real quick. I will get those completed for good. So here's one with white on the Secret Sea. Again, that thinking of you, right from those ephemera sentiments there, quick and easy. Same thing here. This is white on the reverse of Misty Moonlight. And again, ephemera. Look, that's all you need. Nice and plain, simple. That's what we're about on this program. Lift it up, make it real quick. Here's Lemon Lolly. I highlight it with black, and the black and very vanilla gingham ribbon, large check ribbon they call it. This is a last chance item. If you love the gingham like I do, make sure you get it now. It is about $3 cheaper. It's on sale. So that's last chance on the online exclusives. I love black and white gingham. This is vanilla, which is fine. Okay, so again, this came from the ephemera pack. Here is Daffodil Delight with Daffodil Delight, using some baker's twine or some linen thread. You can put that on there. So there's all your suggestions, guys. I hope I've inspired you to maybe purchase this embossing folder, because you will get a lot out of it. Now, if you're watching this week, July 2nd and 2025, on Friday, I will be doing Coffee and a Card. I know it's 4th of July for those people watching in the US, but I'll be doing this in the morning real quick. I'm going to show you some step it up things that you can do with this embossing folder for when you have a little bit more time. So in the meantime, happy stamping. You can please visit my blog, stampwithlorraine.com, for current updates and events that I'm planning. And like I said, eventually these cards will be up there as well. Visit my Facebook page, stampwithlorraine.com, and watch me on YouTube. I have a lot of videos up there too. So hope you're inspired. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time on Whip It Up Wednesday.